Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more VGCommz, Hitman Blood Money, Episode 2, without any of the electric boogaloo. So I guess I better talk about my history of the Hitman series, since I don't believe I did that last week. I started off with Contracts, thought it was alright, a janky little game, played Blood Money, fell absolutely in love with it, saw what it became of this series with Absolution, and just decided, you know what, Nah, fam, that ain't for me. This is not it, Mr. Chief. So yeah, the games I've played, this one is my favorite. I've been wanting to play the reboot series, I guess, or sequel series, whatever you want to call it. I guess they're just calling it Hitman and Hitman 2, which just makes it really confusing. Why can't they just call it some other subtitle since they're good at that? You know, we had Hitman Codename 47, we had Hitman 2, Sound Assassin, Hitman Contracts, Hitman Blood Money, just continue with that. Nevertheless, I do feel like this game kind of gets shoved into a niche that it isn't exactly, doesn't exactly fit into. I may have touched on this last week, not entirely sure, because I'm recording this part like 3 weeks after recording last week's part. Kind of weird, yes, but that's how my mind works. Sometimes I procrastinate. That can be a problem. Hopefully it will not be here on this channel. Nevertheless, I feel like Hitman gets kind of thrown into the stealth box, which it kind of is, but also kind of isn't. The last part didn't really showcase this well enough, in my opinion. We're going to see it so much better here, how this game is, in just as many ways as it is a stealth game, it is a sandbox game. It is a sandbox stealth puzzle game. And in this part, you're going to be able to see just how well it executes that, how it just throws you into the level. It doesn't give you any hints, although you can purchase hints before going into the level, but you are essentially just thrown right in there and just left to figure out how to take out your targets without getting caught. And that does include using some stealth, but there are so many other things you can do. Although this first level, I do believe, it does incorporate a bit of stealth, but like I said, there's so many little mechanics you can use along with stealth. And here we have the briefing screen. For some reason, when I went to go get the upgrades, I forgot to hit the confirmation button, because I am a dummy. A dummy. And at this point, I think I'm just listening to what our handler is saying. Yeah, we got some info on our targets. And of course, the prime directive is always kill the targets and escape. That's always what you're going to be doing. And I really like how there are always so many ways to try to accomplish this. And of course, when it comes to Hitman, your goal is obviously not to get caught, not only not by any of the guards, also not caught on security camera. Although that won't be coming into play in this part. Next part it will, I believe, if I do remember correctly. Anyways, this episode is totally not brought to you by Dr. Perky. It's Perkalicious. Sponsor me, please. Every YouTuber has to have a sponsorship. That's how we survive. So, Dr. Perky, if you're out there, sponsor me. I am very cheap. And by cheap, I do mean literally just toss me like $200 per episode and I will be happy. I think that's a cheap rate, right? Right? That's cheap, I think. Who knows? Also, one thing I will note right here is that the only weapon I ever bring into the field is the silver baller. That's it. You don't need a shotgun, assault rifle. I guess you could use a sniper rifle once you unlock the suitcase, but for the most part, you will never need any of the other weapons. Silver baller, sniper rifle, that's all you'll ever really need. And the main reason is because the assault rifle and shotgun, that's just for like GTA style mass murder sprays. And obviously that's not what we're here for. That's not what we're about. We're about taking out targets like this guy without anybody knowing it was us. And can I just say how well done these cutscenes are, like how well animated they are? Obviously they're CG. They're not using in-game models, but still, they're done quite well, I do believe. Anyways, this is how the game just works right here. It just throws you right into the level. Like, good luck, here's the level, get going. Although, maybe it's just me, but I would have swapped this with the next level we're going to, because just for me personally, I had a much more trouble trying to get through this level than the next one, because believe it or not, this is my third attempt. Yeah, I know, right? And yet the next level I'm able to get done in one attempt. So just like that, I'm able to get through it, no deaths whatsoever. And that might sound like a spoiler, except, actually cut all my deaths out just for the sake of pacing. And as you're seeing right here, this game does incorporate more than just stealth. Just the simple mechanics of the disguise, to me, really separates it from any other stealth game out there that I can think of, off the top of my head at least. Because with the disguise system, you're able to hide in plain sight, like a real hitman or assassin, whatever terminology you want to use, would do. And I think the biggest problem with Hitman Absolution, comparing it to this game, is the fact that it's almost as though the developers heard all the marketing buzzwords and heard like, oh, stealth game, stealth game, stealth game, stealth game, and they went way too far into the stealth direction, just having you go from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E and then to the exit. That's like half the levels in Hitman Absolution, when really that should have been like 1 or 2 levels at most. And it's like 50% Hitman levels, 50% Splinter Cell levels, or at least the Splinter Cell levels that I've seen seem to operate that way. I'm not sure if the rest of the series is like that. Another thing that I like about this game is that if you do get one disguise gets compromised, it's not the end of the world. You can just take another disguise, which is something I feel like this game does better than Contracts. This game seems a lot more forgiving as far as getting caught goes, because once again, it's been a long time since I've played Contracts, so I could be completely mistaken in this regard, but I recall in Hitman Contracts, disguises being found out way too easily. But then again, that could just be me just bumbling around like an idiot in that game, and I will admit, I'm not very good at Contracts. I'm much better at Blood Money, 110%. And I'm pretty sure I pulled up the map at one point just to see, the scope of the level. And most of these levels aren't particularly huge when it comes to just total square mass media thing. Oh, I thought I cut this out. Damn it. Thought I cut out the saving. Ugh. So yeah, this is how long it takes to save a game. Oh yeah, so nevertheless, when it comes to just overall level size, these aren't the biggest. But then again, this is PS2. Even though I remember PS2 levels being huge in that game, then again, I was much younger and things were much more primitive back in ye olden times. Back when I was just a teenager. Yep. And now I feel old because, this game, though it was eventually ported to the Xbox 360, it's still just a really old game in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm looking over at my video game collection over here to the side, if you want to call it a collection, I suppose. 360, PS2, Wii, GameCube games. Ugh. Like, just the fact that the Wii and 360 era, some might call retro, some of those youngins that are like 16 to 18 years old. I don't like that at all. I don't like that one bit. And that little orange circle right there, that's our targets. That is who we are going to need to take out without anyone knowing that it's us who took him out. And yeah, we just have to be really patient. And that's one thing that this game really does seem to emphasize more than anything else is patience. If you are not patient, you are not going to get a very good ranking. And if you don't get a good ranking, then you know what's going to happen. You're not going to get as much bonus pay, which means you're not going to be able to unlock as much stuff. Although, overall, I think the game is very forgiving with how much it pays you. But then again, I generally do relatively decent. So once again, the better you do, the better unlocks you will eventually be able to buy. Now, I'm just going to walk up here. Do not mind me. Do not mind the bald man with the barcode on his head. He is just a stranger in a lonely environment. by the way, you have no idea, like, the fact that the 2 previous times before this, that failed so hard. And that's so frustrating because I could have sworn he was in the exact right spot. But for whatever friggin' reason, it did not hit him. When it fell, it missed. I don't know how, but it did. And it kept on really annoying me. Oh. Yeah. Damage in this game is janky, just a little bit. If I didn't, it is, because this is a PS2 game, and it does, the controls aren't exactly what one may call perfect, I suppose. And here's me just running around trying to find the exit, because even though there are many parts of this game that are stamped permanently into my mind due to how many times I played through these levels, there are always going to be parts that sort of just are gaps in my memory, because that's how our minds work. We remember things in fragments, and we have to sort of piece them together. And that's also how we come up with wrong, what's the phrase I'm looking for? I'm probably going to get this wrong, but sort of false memories, I think that's what they're called. That's how we develop those, because we just remember things in tiny little fragments, and we feel the need to piece them together, you know, connect the gaps, and thus we often get those wrong. Anyways, you didn't come here for any sort of psychological lesson. You came over here to see me be a hitman, so being a hitman, I shall be. And if you're wondering if people die just by being pushed into water, the answer is yes. Doesn't matter how shallow the water is, the moment they touch water, they are dead. Instantly, just like that, just like, they're dead. Just dead. Push them in water, dead. Also, we're magically back in our suit because this is a CG cutscene. I remember feeling so relieved after doing that because, once again, taking 3 attempts, way more than I was expecting. And hey, at the very least, we had 0 witnesses and we're not caught on camera. That is the only thing that matters in my mind. If I can get those 2 goals accomplished, then to me, this is a mission accomplished. I know some people like to go through and only accomplish levels utilizing the Sound Assassin rating, which is the best you can get. But I feel like I did pretty decently. And because we're playing at the easiest difficulty, notoriety is not a factor whatsoever. And the main reason I'm doing this on the easiest difficulty is because, well, I'm not actually very good at this game, for the most part. Like, I am now what I would call an expert at the Hitman series, in the slightest. But hey, we got a decent payout. And now we have over 700 grand, which to me is quite a bit of cash to roll around in if, you know, someone were to ask me. Which, because you're watching this, I'm going to assume that you kind of are, maybe? Dîner? The ghost kills again! Nice little description of our crimes. And I know not everyone likes this whole newspaper section, but, you know, it's charming. Ooh, excuse me. Nevertheless, we didn't fit on the part that I thought I would. Herm. Nevertheless, let's get right into the next mission, which is honestly, from just the setting, is probably one of my favorite missions in the whole game. Which is a shame because it's so early on. And there are other missions in this game that, honestly, I'm not too fond of. In fact, there's one that, for the life of me, I have only gotten Sound Assassin on one time. Only once. And that is only because I replayed that mission ad nauseum, just over and over and over again, until I finally got it. And I'm like, nope, that's it. I'm done. Never playing through this mission ever again, ever in my life. Little did I know, in the young age of 17, that I would be doing this for YouTube. Ugh. Although I did start a YouTube channel when I was 16, so I guess I may have seen that coming sometime, but, you know, didn't have a capture card then. In fact, I didn't have a capture card until I was like, 19 years old? Was when I finally got a capture card, and it is the same one that I use to this day. Yeah, to this day, I have not gotten an upgrade on my capture card. A DVC 100. Dazzle DVC 100 is what it's called. Yes, words, I can use them. That is what it is. That's what I still use. And I gotta say, footage still looks pretty decent overall for a very, very, very primitive capture card. But that's also in thanks to utilizing OBS to record the footage and audio from the game instead of the program that came with it, which, by the way, using it on my current laptop would drop massive amounts of frames. And I'm just talking, drop a frame here, and then 10 minutes later, drop a frame there. No, it's like drop 3 frames here, 5 minutes later, drop 3 frames here, 5 minutes later, drop 3 frames here, 2 minutes later, drop 12 frames here. So annoying. It is just the absolute worst thing to deal with. Also, this is how 47 connects with his handler, who, for whatever reason, I cannot... Oh, Diane. I think that's her name. Yes. I was about to say I cannot remember her name, but Diane, I believe is her name. Diane or Diana. One of those two. And yes, we're going to the opera. The Phantom of the Opera is here. Derby-doo. And this time, I remember to hit the accept button to get our upgrades. Because, going to be kind of important, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. And yes, you do have to wait for specific levels to unlock certain upgrades. Can be a bit annoying, because, it's like, I have all this money to spend, but I don't have anything to spend it on. Also, one thing that I cut out of this playthrough altogether was the hideout level, which is literally just you going through this really danky basement and being able to just pick up all the weapons you collected from the different levels and being able to use them in this sort of really janky target practice area. And it wasn't really anything to show off, in my opinion, so I just cut that out. In fact, I'm making it sound way more exciting than it actually is. Trust me when I say that. By the way, I don't think I've commented on this, but I really do like the loading screens going into every mission, which is why I kept them in, because you're being able to see your targets. And one thing that's really made this game a little cringeworthy in hindsight is the fact that the theme of this level is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Problematic, because the two targets we're going to be hunting are lovers who run a child sex ring. Yeah, that's who we're hunting down. 2 gay lovers running a child sex ring. If you do not know why this is problematic, then you must not be familiar with the stereotypes started in the 1950s. Something that I really did not notice back when I was a teenager, because I didn't really notice things that were problematic when I was that young, but hey, what you gonna do, Live and learn, I suppose. Nevertheless, what's going on here is the fact that there is a rehearsal for an upcoming play. I do believe this is based on a real one that actually exists, so that's a nice little bit of research done by the developers. And this takes place in the country of France, aka the home of Daft Punk, one of the greatest of electronic bands. And this is one of the levels that I do have memorized almost to memory. Almost every part dedicated to my memory, because this is one of the levels that I replay the most due to how much I just enjoy the setting. Because I am a tiny bit of a theater nerd. I haven't actually gone out to the theater myself for the most part because, well, theater tickets are generally expensive. Also, I just never really get the chance to see these Broadway plays when they tour. Like, I really wanted to go see Hamilton, but it just never toured during any sort of convenient time for me, which kind of sucks. I really wish that they would just record these Broadway plays, release them on DVD. Just do that. Is that so much of a crime? Because I would love to see Hamilton. Same thing with, Book of Mormon. That's another one that I would have really loved to see. And the main reason I have a lot of appreciation for the theater is because I've taken acting classes, and both of them were done in this style of theater acting. Not television acting, theater acting. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, there is a massive difference between the two, because when you're acting for a camera, you're acting for something that can see every tiny little minuscule emotion you can make. However, when you're acting for a theater, you're not just acting for the people in the first 3 rows, you're acting for everyone in the theater, all the way for the cheap seats. So if you're ever wondering why people in theater, like pro wrestling, for example, that's a form of theater. Why you often see so much exaggerated emotion, that is why, because you have to make sure everyone in the cheap seats can see that emotion. You want to make sure that everyone can see, okay, you're clearly angry, you're clearly depressed, you are clearly going absolutely berserk. So if you ever want to, like, whenever you see like a wrestling match, a wrestler always winds up their punches before they go in, and they don't always go in for just a whole bunch of quick punches. It's that everyone can see, oh, here comes the punch, and then bam! So a little bit of education. So you cannot say that this part is not educational. In fact, I've been probably more educational in this part than I have during my entire tenure on YouTube. Nevertheless, for this mission, what we're going to do is plant a real World War I pistol on that little desk right there. That actor is going to come in. He is going to take that real one, and then he's going to place his fake one down. Where I take the fake one, he's going to take the real one up on stage. Excuse me. Yeah, drinking soda during a part on microphone, not the best idea. But you know what? I'm dedicated to it. I'm going through with it. I'm committed to it. That's what I am. And he's going to take that real pistol, and he's going to use it on our target, making it a complete accident. He is going to Brandon Lee that bitch. Ugh. And now I'm sad, because Brandon Lee was fantastic in The Crow. Have you guys seen The Crow? I hope you have, because that is one of the greatest movies in the 90s, and I will not hear any of it. Still percolicious. Also, that actor has quite the mustache. Unless it's one of those, prop mustaches, which do exist, We do have the technology for false facial hair and make it look nice and convincing. And this is one of the parts where patience really plays a part, because you may not have noticed, but I was waiting in there for like 2 solid minutes in that closet, just sitting there waiting, doing nothing but waiting. Because this game and Majora's Mask have both taught me patience. Not the 3DS remake. That game will not teach you patience, because you can just skip forward to whatever time you want to. But in the original Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64 and its ports that were not remakes, you just had to wait for whatever scheduled time you wanted to get to. And this game is very much in the same way. You have to wait for the event, whatever you're waiting for, to happen. And the one thing I do like about this game is the fact that there's a set routine for every level that you have to learn. And that is another way where, this game does not get enough credit for it. The fact that you have to study each routine, and by doing so, you know exactly, okay, so this person's going to be here at this time, which means this person's going to be over here at this time, which means if I strike at the right moment, I can get through the target and not get caught. And that's just, I love that. I love that part of this game where you can just plan things out. Like I'm nerding out over it, because it's just so good when you know what you're doing, and like, okay, if this person's gonna be over here at this time, this person's gonna react to the event in this way, then I can do this. A, B, C, D, bing, bang, boom. Sound assassin rating. Unfortunately, though, that does not happen in this level, but don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen, a sound assassin rating will be coming eventually. Don't you fret. It's coming. It's happening. I don't know when, but it will. And yeah, like this part, like I said, there's a lot of patience. There's a lot of waiting in this game. And if you're not a fan of that, then this might not exactly be the video game for you. But thankfully, I have sped up all the waiting, so that way you don't have to go through all that. Boom! I just love how in this game you can set up different sort of quote-unquote accidents, so that way it doesn't look like an assassination. Although I do screw that up in this part, because I kind of got the timing wrong on when the chandelier falls, because for some reason in my head I wasn't quite thinking clearly. I thought the light structure would fall, not the chandelier. I don't know why I thought that, but I did, and because of that, I screwed up. I made an oopsie, so now I improvise. And that's the one thing I do like about this game, so that you don't have to just go through your ABCD plan. It's just like Mr. Cold says, or Captain Cold, whatever his name is. It's been a while since I've watched the CW shows. Make a plan, execute the plan. When the plan goes wrong, throw the plan out. I believe that's what he says. Probably wrong. It's been a while. I need to catch up on those shows. I'm still in season 1 of Black Lightning, so I got a lot of stuff to watch, along with all the anime I'm watching, like Demon Slayer. That's a good one. That's fun times. Adorable times, horrendous times, good times, bad times, all the times rolled up into one times. So yeah, I'm not the world's greatest hitman, but I am a successful one. So yeah, there's that. Also, this guard has clearly seen too much for his own good. Also, I did not mean to shoot him in his booty. Death by booty hole shooting. That is not the way I believe anyone really wants to go out. Not exactly the preferred method, I am certain, but that's life. You take the good with the bad, and then you get the facts of life. That's how that goes, right? And just as I stated earlier, just because one disguise gets blown does not mean it goes for all the other disguises, because now that I am dressed as a popo, no one will ever be the wiser. Everyone just sees me running away, and they're just like, oh, just a normal guy doing his job. He clearly has thrown something over somewhere yonder, and that's why he's going off to investigate. And that's one of the things that I do like about this game, is how you're able just to, improvise in so many ways. That way you can just get away scot-free. No one knows it was you. And now I have that Offspring song in my head. You're gonna go far, kid. That's the song. It's in my head now, and hopefully by mentioning it, it is now stuck in yours as well. And this cutscene for the longest time made no sense to me, but it's actually a reference to something that happens in Hitman Contracts. Which once again, I barely remember that game, because all I remember is that there's a really cool hotel level. There's a level that takes place. I can't even really. There's one that takes place in an asylum. Like I can barely remember some of the levels in that game. All I remember is that there's also one, like, I want to say there's like this underground party, like this crime party thing. Oh, I'm not making any sense with my words. Where it takes place like this meat locker, I think. Ugh. I'm doing a terrible job. Worst commentary channel ever. 0 out of 10. Not enough water. Why is anyone watching this? No one probably is watching this. And if anyone is watching this and you find this entertaining, then hey, thank you for that. I do appreciate you just watching. That's amazing. Oh, they actually found my mine. That's problematic. They shouldn't have been able to do that. It exploded. How were they able to find something that exploded? Must have exploded improperly.